Hello, my name is Paul. Welcome back to the Basketball Show, where we talk basketball objectively, not trying to preserve any contacts or connections like the paid analysts are. This is a show where you will find out the truth and an objective take on all matters NBA and more. All right? So, if I was ever to give props to Stephen A. Smith for a 100% honest take from his heart on a LeBron matter, this would probably be the time. I've talked about how biased Stephen A. is on some of his LeBron takes before, and I did mention that it must have a lot to do with wanting to preserve his connections to LeBron, the Lakers, and LeBron's son. Now, that LeBron has taken a hiatus from social media, as he said himself, I guess Stephen A. hopes that whatever is said now will never reach LeBron, as he's boycotting social media altogether. And of course, that's a joke. And I hope Stephen A. is not naive enough to think that. But I have to give Sass his props after his latest comments on LeBron and his son. The last couple of days, Stephen A. Smith on this subject has been fire. I have to agree with him. This take is as real as we can ever hope for to get from Stephen A. And it's worth a listen because when I heard it, I was surprised he actually said what he said. There's some strong statements here for sure. So take a minute and listen to his comments, which I'm going to play for you right now. Now, before I play these comments though, just make sure to consider, as I mentioned in my previous video, watching the interview I had with Charlie Villanueva, an 11-year NBA vet, and link to the video is available at the end of this video and as always in the description below. So here we go. Without further ado, here are Stephen A.'s comments on LeBron James, which surprised even me, guys. Here you go.
None of us are perfect. And LeBron James electing to get off of social media. Is that because of you, LeBron James? Or is it because of your son, Bronny James, and his struggles in the D-League and the NBA prior to that, college basketball, prior to that, high school basketball when he was an All-American averaging 14 points a game, and people said no All-American averages 14 points a game? It's probably the latter. You know, Greg Anthony alluded to this earlier, and that's why I asked him the question. When you think about LeBron James and what LeBron James had to say, Greg Anthony made a very valid point. The level of vitriol that LeBron James has experienced throughout his career, he's one of the most scrutinized superstars in history. It's not because he's LeBron James, it's because when he came along is when social media shortly followed. Imagine what scrutiny Charles Barkley and MJ and Isaiah and others would have received had there been the existence of social media, had there been Instagram and X, or formerly known as Twitter, and Facebook and TikTok and all of this other stuff. Imagine what it would have been if they played during that time. So we understand that LeBron James has received a heightened level of scrutiny, but we also understand that he's fully capable of taking and absorbing it and stomaching it. So why step away now? Truthfully speaking, it only makes sense that it's Bronny James. Not to be redundant, but it's necessary to be that way. Bronny James doesn't belong in the NBA. Not yet. Some people say never. I don't believe that. I believe the kid has a chance. And I think that he's going to do, I believe in him. I believe in his work ethic, his faith, et cetera, et cetera. But he's not ready yet. Which brings this back to LeBron James. We don't have to scrutinize Bronny James in terms of points per game average and all of this other stuff, please. He's a kid, he'll come along, he'll work on his game, hopefully he'll earn his stripes. Respectfully, this is all LeBron's fault. It was LeBron James that told the world, sitting next to his wonderful wife, Savannah, for an interview, asked the question, what does he want for Bronny? What do they want for Bronny? She said, I just want him to be happy. LeBron James said, I want to play with him in the NBA. I want him in the NBA. And then, because he's LeBron James, he greased the skids and facilitated it happening, ensuring through Rich Paul that nobody would draft Bronny James before the Lakers grabbed him, because there were teams tempted to do it just to keep him away from the Lakers and LeBron. Most importantly, LeBron James was caught saying publicly that Bronny James was better than some players in the NBA. Did you think people were going to forget that? See, I'm not getting into Bronny James because none of this is Bronny James' fault. He's just a kid out there working hard, trying to be the best that he can be, who is very blessed and fortunate to have a father like LeBron James, who loves him and had no ill intent whatsoever. But just because you didn't have ill intent doesn't mean that your intent didn't end up being ill-fated. Because you put this kid behind an 8-ball and now he's a target for everybody. And whatever level of scrutiny he's experiencing and whatever difficulty he's having and stomaching and dealing with all of it is because his father couldn't keep his mouth shut. His father couldn't just play and say, I want my son happy no matter what he wants to do. It would be a dream come true to play in the NBA with him, but we can't have everything we want. Hopefully someday it happens and just left it alone. You didn't do that. And as a result, in all likelihood, Bronny James is experiencing an elevated level of scrutiny that would be difficult for anybody his age, with his experience, and with his unfamiliarity in being associated with this kind of critique. It's been difficult for him. That doesn't make LeBron James the worst person in the world. He's a damn good father. He's a family man. He's an iconic figure that we all should revere, not just respect. But in the same breath, rather than say, I'm stepping off of social media because of the negativity, how about adding, especially some of the negativity I unintentionally brought on my own son? I need to take a step back. I'm not saying you should have done it automatically, but since you felt the need to do what you did in terms of retweeting Rich Kleiman's tweet and stepping away from social media, and since you refrained from just stepping away quietly and basically piggybacked off of Rich Kleiman to blame the national media, could you blame yourself? Because in the end, nobody is more guilty of making times hard for Bronny James, the basketball player, than LeBron James. That's just a fact. There's no way around it. Still root for you, Bronny. Keep working hard, keep making things happen. You got a chance no matter what the critics say. To LeBron James, respectfully, I know you had the best of intentions, but the national media ain't the problem, bro. Not in the case of Bronny James. That would happen to be you.
When Sass made some strong statements, yet still tried to stay as politically correct as possible, I was surprised, but I understand it. He has a lot of respect for LeBron, and his comments went further than I ever expected him to go with them anyway, from what you've heard. Much respect for that from me, Mr. Stephen A. Smith. Now, respect is due when it's due, and I think it's due after those comments that we just listened to. There are points I agree with here, and some that I do not agree with as well. I do agree that LeBron is taking a break from social media, not due to LeBron wanting to take a break from social media, but the true reason is due to what he sees on a daily basis pop up about his son. And it's not good stuff. It's not kind stuff to him, and he just doesn't want to see it. I get it. I don't know if LeBron fully understands that he himself, as Stephen A. mentioned, painted a bullseye on his son's back, making all those stupid comments Sass alluded to in his take. Now, LeBron put the pressure on his son, and LeBron described his son as being better than he actually is. I understand that in a way because LeBron was talking about his son. And tell me what father would not want to talk in the highest possible way about their child? I'm a father. I understand that. But also knowing that, what the future road was for the boy going to be, and saying what he said about his son, knowing that very shortly he will actually have to go out in front of millions of people and prove it, was a totally different thing. Now, praising your children knowing they won't ever have to be put in a situation where they will get scrutinized for the comments that you made is one thing. But praising your child knowing damn well that it was over exaggerated and they will have to prove themselves and prove that what you said is true is another thing altogether. I understand LeBron being who he is, living in a bubble and being protected by his agent, being protected by Clutch Sports, being protected by the Lakers to some degree, and people that have interest in a relationship with him, like Draymond Green, for one, who's been kissing LeBron's ass on a regular basis for the last few months now. He has a lot of yes men surrounding him at this point. As we know, LeBron doesn't respond well to criticism, and many in his closer circle are most likely afraid to tell him he's wrong, as he usually distances himself from people who don't agree with him. LeBron has been praised for such a long time by many people all over that it's hard for him to take any criticism at this point and actually understand it. Not his fault, it's just that's his whole life and everything just created that person. You calling yourself the chosen one, though, the king, the GOAT, over and over and over, all that over time has to have some kind of an impact on your psyche. People were scared to tell him Bronny's not ready. Rich Paul didn't do it, and others in his circle didn't do it as well. His friends failed him, in a sense, because he was guided by emotions, and looking through emotions, just like you're in early love with somebody, you don't see their fault. So he was guided by emotions and love for the kid, and greed a little bit, because he wanted to add something to his resume that no one else had in the NBA, and that it's playing with his son. Now, this whole situation has spun out of control a little bit now, and I feel kind of sorry for Bronny a bit, to be honest, because what he's getting is really none of his fault. He's probably doing, the best that he can for now, and was also made to believe that he's better than he actually is by his father, who was not able to be honest with his son and himself a little bit, I think, due to emotional ties to him. It is what it is. As I stated before, I don't see Bronny make it in the NBA, guys. I just don't see it. And I see him most likely lingering around as a distraction around the Lakers, as his father is still there for the foreseeable future. Bronny's career, in my opinion, will end as quickly as it began. LeBron will leave after his contract expires, and that's 3 years. And Bronny has a 4-year contract, and he will be a Laker on a rebuilding Lakers team for one more season, as his contract is 4 years, like I mentioned. And after that, I think Bronny will be quietly out of the league and pursuing something he actually wants to pursue himself. That's my outlook, but I had to give the props to Stephen A. Smith on those comments, saying that LeBron couldn't keep his mouth shut, that he said too much about his son, and he did it mostly to brag and to enrich his resume and his career, blinded by his emotions. He didn't do it intentionally to damage his son, don't get me wrong. But he was just, I don't know, sometimes overexcitement gets you that way as well. And this had to do with his kids, so it's hard to contain that kind of excitement. Now, make sure to take a look at the Charlie Villanueva interview, as I mentioned to you before. It is a good one, as he talks his career and today's NBA as well, touches on the LeBron situation. And see you again soon, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.